Quite an engaging interview over there, and of course, Sophie and Samson getting us prepared for the afternoon, which is it's just a few hours from now that these results will be coming out. But right now, pushing our interest further at a national level to focus on the ID project. As Ugandans watching right now, or any person who is in Uganda currently, we know that there's a big issue concerning the identity cards. And joining us on the set this morning is none other than Mr. Mayende Simon, who is the Director, Information and National Guidance from the Office of the Prime Minister. It's good to have you on the show this morning.
Glad to meet you.
And well done.
Thank you.
So the ID fever has been on, allow me to call it a fever, has been on for a long time. And for a while, we had a bit of an embarrassment because when you look at across the East African region, we almost, I know there's one or two other countries in the region that equally don't have IDs.
Only Uganda.
Yeah, but it was becoming a bit of an embarrassment. So the first question to you is, what medication are you using to ensure that this fever actually is done away with the ID project, please?
Yeah, now, thank you for having me here.
Yes.
The truth of the matter is, the early embarrassments made us learn. Apparently, that time we had a situation where it was only one department handling the issue. We've now introduced what we call the multi-sectoral approach. We have got everybody involved. Very many ministries are involved. UBOS is involved. Electoral Commission is involved. The Registration Services Bureau is involved. NITAU are involved. So that bigger perspective is enabling us to ensure that we've brought on board each and every stakeholder in this, and ultimately it will involve, the citizens of Uganda. Now, the earlier questions that were raised, the earlier mistakes, we've made sure we've gone through them, and we are sure this time we've got it right.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, it's interesting. First of all, I'm really glad that you're here. We feel somewhat privileged because I think as a public and as a mass public, the first time we sort of heard about the ID project, people were excited. There seemed to be a sense of orderliness that was going on from our leadership, following through to the citizenry. What, in your opinion, do you think is stagnating the process? Because in terms of registration, people were eager, they were ready, they were made aware countrywide, and then something happened. Can you explain?
Yes. Apparently at that time, there were few mishaps that happened. The information was not well documented, but now we've gone back into reviewing what it is that we must do. We've done all that. Like I said, we brought on board every stakeholder. So every angle has been looked at. And then we are now preparing the people so that come 14 April, the next month, we'll start the registration, the mass registration, so that everybody is registered. We've even changed, the approach. Instead of registering, at, polling stations, we'll be registering parish level. So every parish, there are 7,000, almost 500, parishes in Uganda. There will be somebody registering at the parish level. We've reconstituted, the people verifying. They will make sure that the people who are doing it are resident in those areas. Like, for instance, the chairperson of the LC1 will be there. There will be an elder. There will be the parish, internal security officer, and there will be the parish chief as the leader, chairperson of that verification committee. So we've decentralized it and made sure it is done at that level.
And
we've acquired, yes.
You've harnessed the local community to help you in the process.
And we've made the training, that's relevant. And like in the past, where there wasn't enough time to train, we've now trained people at national level, regional level, district level, and we're soon training at, parish level towards, the beginning of the exercise. And we've made sure we have enough equipment.
Now that you're talking about training,
yes.
At a basic level, yes, I've shown up at the parish. What is required of me?
At the verification, venue, you're expected to come with documents that show you're Ugandan, because apparently our constitution requires one to prove one is a citizen, so that one is granted citizenship by the Directorate of...
So what are these documents?
One of them is birth certificate. Some people don't have them, but many people now have them. Then other documentation, if you are naturalized, the certificate of naturalization, certificate of registration, if you have got it through those other venues. But also importantly, the current voter's card is still valid, is relevant to identify you, because information about you was captured, so that is also one other document that you may need. But also, the people we're using are resident in the area, so they will determine whether you are really resident in the area, you are known in the area, your parents, your grandparents, you're born there, so you're a citizen by birth.
Now, my only problem is that most of the things you've mentioned are achievable. They usually now, it's the famous NASA Road. A birth certificate, anyone can get it. A Congolese can get it. And probably that would lead us into the next issue we've had a conversation over before. Who is a citizen of Uganda? We show up to register for the IDs. Anyone can get a birth certificate today. Anyone can get authenticity to naturalization. Anybody can create anything. And now in terms of occupation, right now Congolese, Southern Sudanese, all these people are part of us now. They live with us they rent, not just renting actually now, they've bought houses. So somehow they have a claim to legality in the country. So how are you going to handle this particular matter?
The truth of the matter, even if you're Congolese, but you're not a Ugandan, you have acquired those documentation, still, the opinion of the people, or the verification committee, is very important. Okay. Because they know you, they reside in the area. If you've only come into the area 2-3 years ago, and you've acquired this citizenship in court, definitely, they'll put in, because when you arrive at the verification, site, you'll be given forms to fill. And then you will state why you think you should be a Ugandan, And at that point, your photograph will also be taken,
okay.
And your fingerprints, all the 10 fingers will be taken. So all that combined, information will then be transmitted electronically to Kololo. So at every parish, we have a camera, we have a laptop, and we have equipment, really, generators and others, to help ensure that we are connected to Kololo. That information is transferred to Kololo, who will then determine, given the evidence that you provided, that you're actually Ugandan or not Ugandan. If, for instance, you say you've come to Uganda, 6 years ago, yet you still have a birth certificate, yes, you may even have a passport, by the way. That does not guarantee you being a Ugandan. So the determination will be made at Kololo.
Okay.
Yes. And then information will be sent back. We'll print a identity card and send it back. 3 weeks after we start, verification on 14, we expect in the first week of May to begin issuing, the printed cards. So we want to urge people, Ugandans, to ensure they actually turn up beginning 14 April at their parishes to ensure they actually verified and registered, so that information is transmitted to Kampala, and then identity cards can be printed for them.
So I suppose I'm thinking of the viewer in terms of clarity. So if registration takes place on the 14th in my various, wherever it is I am in the country, how long then until you actually receive an ID?
That's what I've said. When the information is transmitted to Kololo,
yes,
the process will begin. For those who automatically get identity cards, the printing will start. We've set up all the machinery, and then the batch that has been, say, for instance, in the first week,
yes,
that has been, worked upon, that batch will be taken back. So people will begin receiving the identity cards.
So what I'm asking is the turnover is, say I've registered this week, how long before I receive? A month?
It depends on whether your case is clear. If it's a clear-cut case, within a month you should receive your identity card.
And this process is going on through the year?
No, we are going to have this running for 4 months because it is related to the voters register. The constitution, the law, provides for the voters register to be ready by a certain date, and working backwards, considering the elections of 2016, this voters register must be ready by around September. So we're working such that by September we have a voters register ready that will be handed over to the Electoral Commission. Although the Electoral Commission is working with us, but now we'll officially hand it to the Electoral Commission to continue with the electoral process.
So are you saying that actually this year 2014, we could have IDs?
Certainly.
Okay.
The majority, we are targeting 18 million.
If you just joined us, out of a population of 36, our population keeps growing every single day. The other day you're thinking it's 33, 34, then stats tell you we are 37.
Very fertile Ugandan.
Well, at 37 million people, it's anticipated that this year at least 18 million people shall receive IDs. Later on, of course, we shall equally get to know the age at which you cannot get or you can get an ID. But if you have any query or question, this is about you. This show has always been about you and will always be about you. Submitting your questions through Urban Today or our Twitter handle, and we can be able to have the guest address your questions. Now, my next question is concerning the finances. Averagely, you cited about 225 billion.
275.
About 275 billion that's involved in this project. Now, we all know that where massive cores of money are involved, there's always a lot of lengthier hands than usual. What is being done to ensure that the system is transparent and the accountability audit processes are proof from corruption?
One way, the multi-sectoral approach. Every one of us who is in this is very clear about it. We do not want to soil our image, first and foremost, as individuals. Two, the system is such that if funding for particular procurement, like for instance cameras, digital, cameras and laptops and everything, that money goes directly to the supplier. We do not handle it here. From Treasury, goes straight. Now, what is probably coming through is the facilitation for the people in training, facilitation for the people who will actually be verifying. That is all. That's the money that we are likely to handle. The rest of the money.
Are you working with any audit firm? The reason I'm asking this question is that this now goes beyond the Prime Minister's office. You realize you've cited over 6 other entities that you're playing with, right from the IT industry to the media industry. There's quite so many players. So are you having any audit firm that you're working with?
Actually, there are more than 15. The ones I cited are the core areas because by law, they're expected to register.
Yes.
So we've combined all that. Yes, as to audit, we have government auditor, the Auditor General. That's the Auditor General for government, not a private auditor, certainly.
Okay.
Yes, we do have internal audit mechanisms, and we also have all the accountability people looking into this because it is a concern right from the top that this exercise must succeed.
Okay.
And we are determined to make it succeed.
Okay.
Two, we also have on board quite a number of people of high repute, who actually handling this, this exercise. And we do not sit 1, 2, 3 people. We sit more than 20 people sitting to make a decision. And I don't say that, bribery and corruption will come through. And we've also made sure the quality of the items and machines that we're receiving are first class. International, Civil Aviation Authority organization, International Civil Aviation Organization standards. The cameras that we've procured will enable this identity card to be machine readable internationally, but we don't expect people to go beyond the East African region, but which is good. The card will also be used across the East African region, and it will also help us in future registrations,
yeah.
Because we are beginning with the age 16 up to whatever age, the topmost 120, because I hear that somewhere 120. Those are the ones who will be registered, and those are the ones we are targeting and who are citizens. For non-citizens and refugees, those will be registered later. Although they also registered, the refugees are registered under a different system, but we believe this, we are working on the initial phase of registering only citizens who are aged 16 and beyond.
Okay.
Why 16? Because by 2016, they'll be 18 and they'll be eligible to vote.
Okay.
So that is why we're working on that age. Okay. But also, I want to reassure Ugandans that those outside may not be registered now during this mass registration exercise because of logistical problems, but they'll be registered much later.
Okay.
And we encourage them to come back if they can during this period to be registered. We will not be registering outside of Uganda.
Mm-hmm. Well, lastly, I think what it is for the first time we're seeing our country streamlining in areas that are necessary. To be able to walk around with a decent ID and identify yourself as a Ugandan is a good nationalistic effort. I think what people at the end of the day really want to know is that if they're on the voters registry, that it's transparent, it's open, that they too are a citizen that's counted and their vote is also counted with the endorsement of the ID. If 18 million are registered and hold IDs, what do you do with the rest of the population? How do you cater for them? Are you going to do that in the following year, 2015? What is the long-term goal for the ID project? And that's one. Number two, for the people who have looked at this process as a negative, maybe you can help them restore their faith in this.
True. Thank you. The first phase of the project, like I said, is to target citizens 16 and beyond. Later on, and because we do not want to, interrupt, or do work concurrently when the registration, the electoral process is ongoing, will stop for some time. And then later in 2015, we shall resume what we call continuous registration. And that then will cater for zero, the ones who have just immediately been born, a few minutes, soon after you can go and register, and onwards, including those who may have missed for whatever reason. So there will be a continuous registration, but that will not be done at parish level, like this one is going to be done. That will be done at sub-county level. The same way birth registration and death is now being done at parish level. Yes, coming to why the people need this, identity card, the need to know, to tell you, Ugandans, is this identity card will be a one document, one identity. You no longer need to have the LC identity card, the one from school, the one from employment. You may have it, but it will not be necessary, because this machine will also have a number. This identity card will have a number, what we call the national identification number, which is personal to you. That will help you in many transactions, economic transactions, business, passport. Acquisition of a passport will no longer need to fill a form, go back to the village. Once you have that one, you call it, because all the details are captured there. And then also, the most important thing, for international travel.
Yes.
Ugandans traveling to Kenya, Tanzania, may not need to have the passport. They only need that identity card. The way President Kenyatta and President Kagame did when they worked here recently.
Yeah.
So it's very important that Ugandans go out there and register and ensure you have that identity card.
Okay, I'm being reminded our time is up. Just a quick one. The president is supposed to have number one, right?
Yes.
So how does the order go? By what time does the ID come to me or Sophie? By that time, are we number 6 million? So the president, it's in order of bureaucracy, the president will get the first ID, that's number one. Then how does the order, how do you?
I'm not sure, but apparently also that's related to the question. The identity cards that were issued earlier on,
Yes.
the 400 or so,
Yes,
those will have to be recalled.
they will be recalled.
So yes, naturally, we believe we can, respect our president and give him number one and many others, but he may not necessarily follow that protocol. So for those of you who will be going out there, the number you get will be will depend on the time you arrive. Your
So
registration
it's not necessarily based on
no,
status.
no, it's not.
Great. Mr. Mayende Simon, Director of Information and National Guidance. I should say it's been great having you in the studio today. Thank you for that information. I believe it's been very helpful.
Thank you.
Good. And to all of you, our viewers, I hope you not only enjoyed the conversation, but picked up something that will be very helpful to you in matters concerning the national ID. Remember, on the 14th of April, registration commences. It will go on for 4 months. Right now, we'll take a break. When we get back, business unusual with Daniel O'Mara.